Welcome to Shambhu Sessions, a podcast of inspiring conversations with musicians, artists, and visionaries of our time. I'm your host, Shambhu, guitarist and composer. My guest today is Australian guitarist Ian Cameron Smith, who creates beautiful instrumental guitar music with laid-back jazz and blues flavors, mixed with classical and acoustic guitar tones. He's all about relaxing music, melodic guitar expression, and contemplative tones. Ian, welcome and great to see you again. How are you and where are you?
Thank you, Shambhu. I'm currently in London, and I'm very well, thank you. Hope you're well too.
I am. I'm doing this from San Diego,
Right.
which is kind of like my second home. It used to be my home, but now it's my second home. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that. Yeah, because I knew you're on the East Coast.
Yeah, I have a house in West Hampton, New York.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a place there as well, do you, in San Diego?
I stay at a friend's place.
Ah,
I'm looking
nice.
to move here, so I'm hoping that
Are
comes
you?
together. Yeah.
Ah,
Nicer
so that,
weather.
yeah, I was going to say it'd be a tad warmer, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I left New York right before the blizzard of 2 feet of
Ah,
snow. I left the
yeah.
day before and I was happy to miss that.
Yes, that sounded full on. I mean, I'm in London, as I said, it doesn't get proper cold like that. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's it's fresh, but it's not 2 foot of snow.
It was tough stuff. So hey, let's learn a little bit about you. Starting at the beginning, how did you first get into music and playing the guitar, and who were you listening to growing up?
My earliest strong memory, I think I must have been about 5 years old, and I had a cousin who was quite a bit older. He was probably 20, or you know something around that age, and I remember we went over to their place and his rock and roll band was rehearsing downstairs. And I was mesmerized, completely captivated by what I was seeing. And a big part of me realized very, very young that this was what I needed to do. I was certainly attracted to, what I was seeing. Anytime I'd come across any household with a guitar, it just fascinated me. I think one of the key things for me, I have two older brothers. They were about 6 and 4 years older. Growing up in the 70s, I was born in 65. So growing up in the 70s, they had the best record collections. I mean, just think of 70s music, and they had a very eclectic collection, everything from Bread through to Santana, Neil Young, lots of Led Zeppelin, Beatles. So I remember from a very young age sitting with headphones at the stereo system and just playing all these records and flipping them over. And I was just into it as early as I can remember. And then I think I started, one of my brothers finally, he brought a battered old acoustic guitar into the house, and that was it for me. So when he went out, I'd sneak into his room and play his guitar. And then a bit later, he got an electric guitar, which was just mind-blowingly exciting. So I used to plug that in when he went out. So when he didn't know I was doing it, and just play that. And then eventually got my own guitars. And I'd say from about the age of 10, I was pretty seriously into it. I was self-taught. A very good friend of mine was a guitarist I respected a lot. He was an electric guitarist mainly, and he could play so much better than any of us other friends. He took up classical guitar, and he said, Ian, if you want to learn to play really correctly, you've got to take up classical guitar for the technique, if for no other reason. And I respected him as a player so much that I thought it sounds like a good idea. So having played rock and roll and blues and a bit of jazz, I suppose from 10 right up to about 18, I then kept doing that. But I had some very serious classical guitar lessons. He was my first teacher of classical guitar, and then I went to his teacher, and his teacher was very, very high level classical guitarist, And he just taught me so much about good technique. And I did that seriously for about 3 years. And I would practice 5 hours a day, which is a fair amount. I gleaned the technique, took the technique and then applied it back to my own compositions. So I'd always composed my own guitar music my whole life, but taking the classical technique, especially, arpeggios, because I use nails, so I could start to get that arpeggiated sound in what I was playing, and it opened up a lot of voicings of and choices as to what you could play. And because I never sang, wasn't really that way inclined, I felt like, well, if I'm going to have anything worthwhile to say on the guitar, I needed to be able to voice a lot of ideas within the guitar playing. I know you fully understand that because it's exactly what you do. And I felt a kinship with you as soon as I heard your music. I think there's a lot of similarities in our approach to guitar. I think we both appreciate the separation of notes and the voicings and the clarity. So
I have a question for you. So was there any particular album or guitarist that kind of inspired you to move into the direction you're in now?
Yeah, I'd say Pat Metheny was a massive inspiration.
Same for me.
Yeah. And what a genius jazz guitarist, Pat Metheny.
Absolutely.
And dovetailing in parallel with that was the Windham Hill stable of guitarists.
Of course.
And Michael Hedges was a big standout for me because he was the most, I guess, inventive within that stable. But the other players, I loved the mood and the beauty that they were expressing in their work.
So you
Alex,
kind of take music from jazz and blues into relaxing. As an intention. Why that intention? And tell me about the essence of your music according to you.
Yeah. So, well, firstly, I love jazz and blues, particularly blues. But interestingly, I would often sit down to maybe create something more bluesy, and I just naturally get shifted into composing music that is very calming. I often think, well, maybe that's what I need. Maybe I did it for myself. Probably most of the music I've ever composed was kind of music I wanted to hear. It's music I would have been pleased to hear someone else create, which is, again, why I've gravitated to what you do, because it's very beautiful. And I feel a lot of similarity in the relaxation but the mood that you get. So I really resonate with that. To me, it's got to kind of reach into the listener's heart and tug at something. It has to. I'm not a flashy player, so I don't rely on speed or anything like that. Not at all. I think for me, it's more about just trying to tap into the mood. I just love, moody music in that sense.
And how were you able to kind of bring your particular style of music into the Australian music scene?
Within the Australian music scene, there was a particular composer. He was early to the well, if you want to call it new age music scene or, relaxation music scene in Australia. He kind of birthed what he was doing in the mid 80s. I'm talking about a guy called Tony O'Connor. And so he birthed what he was doing around the same time, I guess. Did Windham Hill maybe start around mid 80s as well? Or
in the late 70s.
Oh, right.
Mid-late 70s.
Yeah. So this Tony O'Connor had enormous success. He just hit on something that really grabbed. His timing was perfect. He was a great composer. It just went very well for him. And I got to know him through that same guitar friend of mine who inspired the classical guitar. He was a mutual friend. So I met Tony O'Connor And I learned a lot from what he was doing that, well, firstly, that it was possible. And secondly, the most important factor was that he was self-published. So he wasn't part of the music industry at all. He was really more in the health and well-being industry. So really just running alongside the normal music industry. So I saw that and I thought, yes, that's the way to go, especially that it was a natural marriage to market to the health and well-being industry, because they were the people who were going to play it in their clinics alongside, whatever modality they were doing, whether it be massage or naturopathy or you name it. That became my audience and my outlet through the 90s and first half of the 2000s, I guess. Yeah, so it was very outside the normal music industry.
So when you create new music, how does it start? Does it start with you just playing along on the guitar? Do you get into a mood? Are you hooking into a rhythm or an image, or you hear something inside? How do you write?
Well, whenever I pick up the guitar, ideas come through very quickly. I don't often sit down to play what I've already written or what someone else has written. I usually always sit down to find a new idea. I just love the act of doodling and searching for sounds, and then you'll just stumble across something. And I don't know if it's like this for you, but the smallest trigger can trigger the biggest idea in my head. So I can
Exactly the same.
Yeah, I figured it would be the same for you. So I've got a small idea, but I can hear it all. I can hear the rest of the song. I at least hear the potential for what the rest of the song could be. And so then I can't wait to get some kind of bed down, the foundation of it. And I absolutely love the process of layering the different instrumentation around, the bed. Sometimes the bed of the track can come from a keyboard sound or doodling on piano, of which I'm not a pianist, but I use it as a writing instrument.
You have a super clean tone, beautiful clean tones when you play. How do you know whether to start with an acoustic or an electric, or do you always start with electric?
I usually start with the classical guitar or acoustic guitar. I would say that 90% of the time, the electric guitar parts I write creating melody on top of that bed of the classical or the acoustic. If a song starts from me playing the classical, it'll have a different personality to a song that started from the acoustic guitar, because they're different to play. They create a different mood because they sound different. So my classical songs or the songs that start from the classical guitar their own kind of sound, if you like.
When did you start to realize that people were positively impacted by the music you were releasing?
Well, the reaction came second, so I didn't. I just had such a burning desire to record my first album because I'd come up with all these ideas. So I just wanted to create the album, and once I did, I would go around to all the new age shops in mainly in Sydney, but other parts of Australia, and just see if they were willing to take some of my cassettes. They were on cassette, the first ones. Then I finally got a CD pressed, and they'd have a quick listen, and say, "Yeah, I'll take 5." And I'd go back in, a week later, and yeah, we sold most 4 of them. Give us another 5, and so it's just a very gradual process. Like any artist who continues their craft, it's only due to the wonderful support of your listeners. It's thankfully.
So music wasn't your day gig at the time.
Well, I was an electrician by trade. Yeah, I was a tradie. I think I was an electrician up to about the age of 27, and that's a great job. Like, it's a good job. It's hard work. My heart was always with music. So it was kind of just a job. And I just pined for, the opportunity to just do music. So I did. It's mainly through the inspiration of Tony O'Connor and seeing what amazing success he had gotten from pursuing his passion. I thought, okay, it's possible. I never had the vast success that he had, but it was enough success to say I'm onto something here. And there's enough feedback in the form of verbal feedback and sales to think it was gratifying that people were getting something out of it. So it's a nice, full circle experience.
And over the years recently, you made the friend of Steve Shepard at One World Music Radio, who became a fan of your work and introduced you to me.
Yes. I'm very grateful for that connection. Yes, Steve Shepard's doing a great job in helping many artists be heard and shared. So very grateful for him.
I'm actually switching it up and interviewing both of them at the end of the month.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Because no one really knows who they are.
Yeah. And they do an amazing job, don't they?
I mean, they're doing a lot. They have a lot of channels and a lot of outreach and a lot of exposure. And they must have people listening. So, so tell me, I looked at your website and you've got, what do you have, like 11 or 12 albums and 6 or 7 EPs on there?
Yeah, there's quite a few singles. So I've got 10 albums. I've got a blues EP. So
that was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah. And that was something I had to.
What was that called?
Freedom Road.
Right, Freedom Road. It's a great album.
Thank you. It's something that I kept delaying doing some kind of blues project.
Yeah.
I love blues, as I said, and there's bluesy elements in all of my albums to varying degrees, gentle blues, but I just let loose a bit more on Freedom Road because it was, hey, look, this isn't necessarily for therapy accompaniment, so to speak. This is for pure blues enjoyment. So that was a cathartic outlet, I suppose.
Was that a direction you wanted to get into after sort of creating a lot of relaxation and healing music? You wanted to just get into playing?
I'd always played it alongside that. It's not like I ever stopped playing blues. I just didn't record. Just didn't record it. So, like I love jamming with other guitarists, and you're often doing interesting things, jazz and blues things. But when I'm sort of by myself, I tend to gravitate towards the arpeggio work and a more classical style of playing. But I mean, when at the same time I was getting into Pat Metheny, I remember I was 17 and I listened to his first 2 albums that had Jaco, the bass player,
Pastorius.
Yeah, playing on those albums. I listened to them hundreds of times, and it goes in, doesn't it? It doesn't mean I can play like him, but it goes in, and the sensibility of how he structured songs, it all goes in on some level. I'm completely self-taught. I'm not a trained musician whatsoever, except for the classical technique. But even then,
do you read music?
No. Well, I had to during the classical guitar era, but I've since forgotten it. So I think it's better to say no. I don't read at all, but I have to record it. I've published over 100 songs, and if they weren't recorded, I wouldn't necessarily remember them. But luckily I can go back and listen and remember what I did.
So you also have a connection to the ocean and surfing. You connected your Flow Motion release to surfing in the ocean. Tell me about that. Yeah,
well, look, surfing is a completely magical thing to do. The thing that's most magical about it is, we often talk about the importance of being in the moment, in life, right? That's where it's at. It's where you can be stillest, and you can just tune into yourself and intuitions and all the rest of it. When you're surfing, you're so hyper in the moment, because if you're not, you're off the board, especially in bigger surf. Like it's just, there's this wonderful living on the edge sort of quality to it. I mean, you're stacking it into water, so it's okay, unless you're, surfing really massive surf. That's pretty scary. But it's just that oneness with the ocean, the complete in the moment quality of surfing, and being at one with nature. It's very powerful. It's very powerful. If I'm out there sitting on my board waiting for the next wave to come, the piece of music that I might be working on at that time is just going over and over in my head, and I can hear it really clearly. So I actually get a lot of kind of I ponder my compositions when I'm out there a lot too, because you catch a wave, but then you're waiting for waves a lot longer than you're actually on the waves, waiting for nature to show up for you.
I kind of tell people that a lot of times when I'm home swimming,
yes,
I'll play an album or songs in development while I'm swimming, and do a lap, take my head out, and keep swimming. And that's when a lot of creative stuff happens. While I'm underwater paddling away, I get an idea. I don't worry about losing them, because I realize now that the ideas always come back.
Yeah.
They always come back. I mean, because they're just circling around. They're not going anywhere. They pop in your head, and they keep circling until you get in that headspace to receive them. But I share a lot of that stuff with you. So
I can so tell that you and I would have a very similar creative process. I can hear it. I can feel it in your music. I think we're both very happy to just put a guitar in our hand. You'll have a song soon enough.
Exactly.
It's kind of just there waiting to drop in.
Yep.
It's probably.
And so, you talked about the blues. What did the blues allow you to express that the relaxation music didn't?
100% emotion. 100% emotion. I was started to say a little while ago, same time I was getting into Pat Metheny, I was absorbing Stevie Ray Vaughan so much.
Great player.
And he's like there's a ferocity to his blues playing that just blew my mind. And so I was taking a lot of his sound into my system as well. Just the raw emotion of it. It just, it's so emotive. I love that. I just love when music moves you to feel something so strongly,
Yeah. And what advice would you give, younger guitarists and composers who kind of want to get into creating music, either bluesy or want to get into music that's beautiful and healing and lasting? Any advice from your own experience?
That's a really good question. Maybe trust yourself, and don't doubt yourself. Like everything's valid, and if it moves you, if it moves them in the process, there's a very good chance it's going to move someone else. If you feel it, someone else is going to feel it as well. So just trust that you have the ability to do it, and never give up. Same thing, whether you're a sports person or a musician or an actor, whatever you are, an author, you just never give up. You can't give up. Why?
I always say be very patient.
Yeah.
Just let it happen and don't worry about the result. It will happen if you keep working at it.
Yeah.
Hey, tell me about some of the recent singles you've put out, and anything that's on the agenda.
From about 2005, I had a son. My wife and I had a son, so I was bringing up a child from 2006. So I did no music for about 12 until about 2018. I did nothing. I was just so focused on raising my son. And so from 2018, with Spotify and everything else, have moved into a musical situation where people not necessarily, releasing albums all the time. Because you can just release a single and away you go. So I'm quite a slow composer. Like, to record an album would take me at least a year every time I did it. So I thought, well, because I can, I'm going to release a song once it's finished. And I don't know how many singles I've done. It's at least 10, I think, maybe more. So I just released a string of singles from about 2018 onwards. Also, slightly contradictory, I did release an album in 2018 and 2019 as well. And then after that, the singles came. And then
Give
the
me some
blues EP.
titles.
Oh gosh,
Glow,
Illumination. Yeah, Glow. Remembering. Yeah,
Freedom Road a little while back.
Yeah, Illumination, Flow Motion, as you said, Awaken, Gratitude. I'm blank on the rest.
No worries. I'll put up some of those covers in the podcast. Yeah. Is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
Oh, there's probably so many things that I'll I'll think about once we're finished. Oh yeah, just probably the last thing to say. I've been traveling for a long time. For about the last 15 months, I've been all over the place, and all I've had with me is an acoustic guitar. And no, I haven't been anywhere near my recording studio. So I have been really enjoying composing a lot of solo acoustic guitar pieces. And I've probably got an album's worth of solo guitar pieces. And they've all been composed in the DADGAD open tuning. Do you use DADGAD?
I do know that. I like that.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful tuning. Any guitarists that might be listening that haven't yet explored an open tuning like DADGAD, DADGAD, I'd thoroughly recommend exploring it. The voicings and the chordal shapes that it opens up is absolutely wonderful. I highly, highly recommend it. So I've got a lot of pieces ready to, or close to being ready to being recorded. But
will an album be coming out this year?
I'd like to think so. It just depends if I can get some recording equipment sorted out whilst traveling. That's been really fun, and it's made me. I'm almost trying to kind of tap into that Windham Hill essence, where just the solo guitar said so much. So I'm trying to apply that sensibility to it. So yeah, and it's funny though, because I can almost hear like a side one, if you like, of the solo rendition, and almost like a side two with the bed of the song being the solo rendition, because I can also hear so many other parts and so much fleshing out of each of those pieces, or most of those pieces as well.
If you do it that way, you might have two albums.
Yeah, or like a bright side and a dark side, or you know what I mean. I think Peter Gabriel's done that type of thing more recently.
The other thing I want to mention is that if people go to your website, iancameronsmith.com, they can find a couple of dozen beautiful videos that feature your music.
Yeah,
tell me about those.
Thank you for mentioning that, because it's something I'm really pleased about. One of the things I do is I over the years I've done a lot of videography professionally, and so it's kind of a natural thing for me to want to create beautiful imagery, to moving imagery to go with a selection of my songs. So I've got 10 official music videos out there in the world on Spotify, Apple Music, and all over the place. But I've also got my own YouTube channel, which has it's got over 20 deeply relaxing videos. What I had hoped to achieve, and I think I have, with the visuals that go with the music, it kind of hopefully takes it to another level again. especially from a relaxation perspective. You can just really hypnotize the viewer with the right kind of imagery to go with the music. So that's been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. So as I said, you can see that on my YouTube channel, Ian Cameron Smith Music, and you can see quite a few of them on all the streaming platforms now as well. So
Well, I'll put links in the podcast description.
yeah, thank you so much.
Well, my friend, I want to thank Ian Cameron Smith for joining me today. You can learn more about Ian and his music at his website, iancameronsmith.com. I'll add links to all his contact information in the podcast description. And if this episode moved you, please like, follow, and share Shambhu Sessions. Wherever you listen to podcasts, I'm Shambhu. And until the next time, stay open, stay inspired, and keep listening.
Thanks, Shambhu.